Hi there, welcome to another episode of Snake with Legs. I'm your host, Israel. Welcome back. I wanted to say thank you for the all the comments and the positive response I got from the last episode. It's really encouraging and it means a lot, especially with this channel just starting out. So, thank you. Apparently, Australia is not real. I just found this out, and now I bestow this knowledge upon you, and now you know. That being said, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Today's episode, I wanted to bounce off the last episode. I kind of just touched on all the topics, just trying to give a general idea of what this channel's about and the things I think about and talk about. That being said, last episode we kind of touched on the topic of reality and understanding it. That's a very complicated topic. And one of the things that got brought up was death. Death is a really interesting one because no one is really an expert on it per se. And I can kind of get into what that means and why I believe that. First off, gnosis. If you haven't heard that word before, I pulled up Wikipedia. Gnosis is the common Greek noun for knowledge. The term was used among various Hellenistic religions and philosophies in the Greco-Roman world. It is best known for its implication within Gnosticism, where it signifies a spiritual knowledge or insight into humanity's real nature as divine, leading to the deliverance of the divine spark within humanity from the constraints of earthly existence. So again, in the last episode, I touched on our limited capacity to understand reality. What I'm focusing on is within humanity from the constraints of earthly existence. Getting into the etymology of it, because I think that is a better it will give you a better idea of what that word means. Gnosis is a feminine Greek noun which means knowledge or awareness. It is often used for personal knowledge compared with intellectual knowledge. Basically, and what it means to me, or like my understanding of the word, is a personal experience. It's gnosis, you get it from actually, hands-on being there. You saw it, you experienced it. That's your gnosis. It's not just word of mouth. You heard it from someone else. You read it in a book. It's something that you were there to experience or you understand personally. So we all have the gnosis of gravity. You have an object, you drop it, and there's your direct experience of it. When it comes to death, and near-death experiences, it's kind of in the name. It's near death. It's not actual death. Why it's important to touch on that when we talk about reality is that death is just one of the great equalizers. You're not able to directly experience it per se. And the reason I think that is because with all these near-death experiences, they're always able to have a body to come back to. In Christianity, and not just that, there's many religions where someone dies and they come back and they have a direct experience, gnosis, of the other side, and they come back with more knowledge. I'm more familiar with the Christian view or those stories. So to me, that's my analogy. That's how I explain it. Why I think that story is so important is because the body of Christ was destroyed and then recreated. That's the only difference that makes that story distinct from a near-death experience. Like, I know people, they've been declared dead for like 18 minutes, heart stopped, brain activity apparently gone, but they come back. This isn't a Christian, just FYI, this isn't a Christian channel. I'm not going to be ranting on that, or that's not a huge discussion. But when we talk about trying to understand the whole of reality, not just here's physics, here's mathematics, we're trying to get like a bigger picture so that we can understand our placement in it and move from that point clearly. We want to have a realistic, accurate definition of the world and of ourselves, and more than just, I suppose, what we need to survive. If you're watching this and if you're into this type of stuff, you're probably not just trying to get through life with the bare minimum. Really, that's really easy. You don't need to be smart. You don't need any sort of crazy education or anything to get through life. You're born and you're here. That's bare minimum. So you want a little more understanding than just on the surface level. What's obvious and what's apparent. You want to achieve anything in a specific area, you study and practice and get good. That being said, if you're watching this, you're trying to understand, you're trying to have a deeper understanding of life and of yourself and of reality and nature and the world. So yeah, back to the main point. The point is that there's a limit to what we're able to perceive and understand about reality. So like one of the things I talk about is I don't think of it as spirituality or religion or like a science, even though it is kind of all three. Basically, when we talk about gnosis, yes, it's a direct experience, but our brains, the way we like truly understand something when we're able to talk about it and communicate it to other people, is we have models of understanding. Basically, you can think of it like a little kid. As they grow up, they're able to categorize things and put them in boxes and then relate that to other people. So like a story I heard that works really well for me to explain it is like, you tell a kid a dog has 4 legs, or it walks on 4 legs and it's furry. Then it sees a cow, so it says, oh, that's a dog. You have to teach it to make that distinction between black and white, fat, giant 4-legged creature and a small brown 4-legged creature. When I talk about like models of understanding, I talk about ideas and different analogies. They're just words. They're words and models I'm using to communicate something deeper than just that. We're all very limited by the words we have to work with. Language barriers even make it even more difficult. So direct gnosis is what I encourage you to have, and for me to have. We're not just trying to understand. We're not just trying to get book smarts. We're not just trying to have all this head knowledge. Yes, that's great because you need it to communicate. But when you have a direct experience of something, that's fundamentally more important when you're trying to really grasp reality. What else? Reality. Back to like limited perception and death and life and all that. There's the whole of reality, and then there's just our little piece of it. What's a good example? Bats. Let's take bats for example. Their perception of reality is vastly different from humans. They are, from what I know, mostly blind, and they perceive the world through their ears. Then they create a model in their head of what that looks like. That perception of the bat isn't wrong or inaccurate. It's just inaccurate compared to a human. Something to take into account is we're all different from each other in our perception, and even how our brains are structured and how we like take in data and transform it into information and then communicate that information. It is different from one another, but that changes how we perceive reality. Our little models in our brain and how it's structured is going to change how we interpret reality and how we move in the world. Kabbalists would say that the ultimate function of perception, so you have like the hardware and then the software. Our hardware, like how we're fundamentally structured, like the operating system and then the software on top, our operating system is based on receiving. That makes a lot of sense evolutionarily. So, like, the idea is, this blind gelatinous muck moves towards light because there's food in the light areas. So then it develops a sense of light and dark. It works up to a point and it makes a lot of sense. A Freudian model of like pleasure versus pain. You move towards pleasure, move away from pain. And fundamentally, all the software we've developed on top of it is meant to help us with that. Well, I think that is a really cool idea and it does work. Like, it makes sense. Ultimately, there's just so much going on the software level. And if you crack open the operating system, it's a lot more than just that's running this machine. Because ultimately, we're this body, we're this like flesh suit that has this thing called awareness and consciousness, and we're kind of attached to it. And you kind of get that sense that we're not really native to our bodies, if that makes sense. And I don't know if any of you have had that experience, but it's kind of like, at what point in your development as a kid did you become conscious or self-aware? You suddenly realize, oh, shoot, I'm here in a body. I'm alive, and now I have to deal with it. I don't think animals really have to deal with that. I'm sure they're self-aware to an extent, but to the extent that humans are self-aware, it's kind of unreasonable. I think that's fascinating. I think that's amazing, and that's a huge area to explore in in consciousness and in reality, because what you're conscious of, what you're aware of, is your reality. That's not to be confused with like solipsism, where the only thing that is real is yourself. So like everything is sort of like internal. It's just like a dream. I really think that there's a physical reality outside of each of our perceptions. And that's my own gnosis of life. If I die, the world moves on. But it's a very interesting line to where that it's a very interesting line. It's a fuzzy area. And I really love playing with that line. How much of reality is outside of us versus how much of it is internal. Because then you get into when you want to like move through the world more efficiently, you want to know, what do you have control of? What do you not have control of? On some level, you might be in a headspace, a mentality where you are very in control of everything in your life. All the elements, you're just moving through it. But at a certain point in your life, you may experience how little your will or intentions or your self-concept is actually in control of yourself. So I guess another way to say that is nature versus nurture, or like free will, even better yet. Like, something I've thought about is, if who I am is a product of my environment, then every decision I make moving forward is just going to be a byproduct of my environment. Versus I'm able to take in my environment and see it and then make a free will choice based off of, myself. And that's where we get into things like identity and self-concept and, free will and determinism. Those are all very, very cool things to explore. So I think this video has run on long enough. I hope I haven't bored you. But yeah. So these first couple videos, they're just kind of like exploring like my ideas and, general topics. But I think moving forward, I'm just going to make, a video dedicated to one topic at a time and just sticking with. Hopefully you find those interesting. And if you do, stick around. I'd love to have you. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.